Today, we're going to dive into one of the greatest mathematical quests in all of human history. Think of it like a 350-year-long relay race of geniuses, all chasing after a single, seemingly impossible problem, Fermat's last theorem.
But to really get this story, you kind of have to flip how you think about things. What if the most important breakthroughs don't come from finally getting the answer right, but from all the brilliant, fascinating ways we get it wrong along the way?
I mean, for more than 3 centuries, that's exactly what happened with this theorem. You've got this one simple-looking puzzle that kicks off an absolutely epic saga, a story full of near misses, beautiful mistakes, and what you could call heroic failures that ended up changing the world of mathematics forever.
Okay, so let's head to the starting line. It's time to meet the opponent in this epic race, the impossible problem itself.
So this is it, Fermat's last theorem. Now, you probably remember the Pythagorean theorem from school, right? X squared plus y squared equals z squared. That totally works. But Fermat claimed that if you just change that little power of 2 to a 3 or a 4 or any whole number higher, you will never find whole numbers for x, y, and z that make it true. Not ever.
And get this, he just scribbled this note in the margin of a book and then famously added that he had a marvelous proof, but, well, there just wasn't enough room to write it down. And just like that, he fired the starting pistol on a race that would go on for centuries.
The first truly great runner to pick up that baton was a mathematical giant, a real powerhouse named Leonhard Euler.
You know, you gotta appreciate Euler's strategy here. He was smart. He didn't try to conquer the whole mountain in one go. Nope. He attacked it piece by piece. He successfully proved the theorem for cubes, which was a big deal, and then for fourth powers. These were huge victories. But a single elegant proof that worked for every number, that was a ghost he just couldn't catch.
And right there, in that so-called failure to get the final answer, he taught us all something absolutely crucial. Progress isn't always about one giant leap. A lot of the time, it's about a series of small, determined steps forward.
So, the race wasn't over, not by a long shot. Euler had run his leg of the race, and now it was time for the next runner to take over, someone who would have to break through barriers not just in math, but in society itself.
And so the baton was passed to our next hero, an incredible barrier breaker named Sophie Germain. Germain's story is it's astounding. We're talking 19th century France, where she was literally forbidden from officially studying mathematics because she was a woman. But did that stop her? No way. She secretly got lecture notes and submitted her own groundbreaking work under the name of a male student. And her work was brilliant. She came up with a proof for an entire category of prime numbers, a massive leap forward.
Her story is just this powerful reminder that genius doesn't care about your gender or your background or whether you have a formal invitation to the party. You know, sometimes the most creative solutions come from the outsiders, the ones who simply refuse to be told no.
The race kept going, but the runners were starting to figure out that the track they were on, it just wasn't getting them to the finish line. They needed someone to reinvent the race itself. They needed a revolutionary. They needed Ernst Kummer.
So Kummer has this stunning realization. The problem wasn't with the mathematicians, it was with the math itself. The tools they were using were just incomplete. It's like trying to describe a rainbow to someone who can only see in black and white. So what did Kummer do? He invented new colors, entirely new concepts called ideal numbers. And in doing that, he basically opened up a whole new world of number theory that just didn't exist before. And his breakthrough, it shows us something really profound. True innovation isn't just about finding the right answer. Sometimes it's about realizing you need to invent entirely new tools just to ask the right questions in the first place. And this is where the whole story really pivots. Because while that finish line for Fermat's theorem was still way off in the distance, the race itself had created something absolutely incredible along the way.
By 1980, with the rise of computers, mathematicians had checked the theorem for every single power up to 25,000. And you know what? It held true for every single one. But that still wasn't enough. And you might be asking, why?
Well, because there is a world of difference between verification and proof. Checking 25,000 numbers is just that. It's checking specific cases. A proof has to show it's true for the 25,001st case, and the one after that, and the one after that, all the way to infinity. The computer could run part of the race, sure, but it could never ever cross the real finish line.
So, here's the crucial point of all this. For 350 years, in the quest to solve this one little puzzle, These failures by people like Euler, Germain, and Kummer actually gave birth to huge areas of modern number theory. The tools they built to attack this one problem became way more important than the problem itself. The glory, it turns out, wasn't in the destination, but in the incredible world they built while just trying to get there.
And that leaves us with a final thought. Just look at the great unsolved challenges of our own time, in medicine or physics or climate science. It really makes you wonder, which of our current failures are secretly building the foundations for the big breakthroughs of tomorrow? The next time you hear about some noble effort that didn't quite succeed, remember the heroic race for Fermat's last theorem. Because sometimes, the journey really is the prize.